there, and welcome to the Kingdom Sexuality Podcast. We're Paris and Alana, friends who have a heart for intimacy and long to uncover God's truth and design for sexual freedom within marriage. Welcome here. Today, we're talking about intimacy and pregnancy and all things in between. So I'm excited about this. I think it's going to be really good. So I feel like it's pretty commonly talked about how different babies are. Every baby is so different. Even if people have like multiple kids, they're like, oh my gosh, this baby was so different than my other baby and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like as moms, we can sit together and hours to just talk about how different kids are and compare them and be like, my kid's doing this. Like, what is your kid doing? But I don't know if we really share openly how vastly different our experiences with pregnancy can be. And especially, we don't often talk about how drastically pregnancy can affect intimacy with our husbands. I feel like that's something that just isn't quite as commonly brought up in conversations. So, but before we go any further, if you're wringing your hands about whether pregnancy sex is safe, like sex during pregnancy, don't stress about it. Some couples tend to worry that intercourse could hurt their baby. I remember hearing people say like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to poke the baby. You know?
Yeah, seriously, right?
But no, that's a myth. As long as you're physically comfortable, almost everything's on the table. So unless your doctor has given you a red light for some reason, you have the go ahead and you got every right to go get busy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for myself, when I've been pregnant, typically I feel, the normal kind of morning sickness in my first trimester, throw up in the mornings or when I don't have a snack. And I get totally exhausted by the afternoon. And it's funny, I can remember reading in one of those little apps that I had on my phone that, as second trimester approaches, you'll likely start feeling, more easily aroused or hornier, as you're in your second trimester, and it'll ramp up from there, whatever. No, I don't remember that happening. I was like, oh yeah, that's sweet. I can't wait. Like, no, I don't remember that happening. Which I was like, bummer. They like promised me this, like, I'm going to feel super aroused. Nah. Lie to me. Jeez.
Alana, you need to start your own app, especially with that voice you just displayed. Oh, you can totally do this. The truth of pregnancy and sex. Dun, dun, dun.
It's me. Oh. Other apps say you'll feel more aroused, but sadly, you maybe won't. If you do, you are the 1%. Congratulations.
I am the 1%. So today we're talking about that 1%.
Oh
my gosh.
Geez. But some people definitely do feel that when they're pregnant, is they feel a lot more easily aroused and stuff.
Yeah,
but
I know a really good girlfriend of mine. She's like, Paris, you're going to love it. It's going to be phenomenal. Like, you're just going to be horny all the time. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, that was totally not the case for me at all. Oh, my gosh.
I do know that, even though I didn't really experience that, Jeff is a big fan of pregnant Alana. He couldn't get enough of my belly, and he told me all the time, how much he loved it. Not that he doesn't when I'm not pregnant. He tells me all the time that I'm lovely, and that makes it sound like he doesn't. He does. But just, the novelty of the pregnant belly and all that comes with it. And so him just telling me he loved it all the time, I think that definitely helped our sex life while I was pregnant, because even though I did maybe have a lower sex drive, he just would make me feel really beautiful and desired. And then that would really help me to want to have sex more, right? Which obviously, if you're feeling cherished and loved and desired, like that naturally would come with it. So, but yeah, so looking back, something I did struggle with during pregnancy was having a bit of a lower sex drive, but I would say that was normal for me going into pregnancy. And looking back now, coming through pregnancy and having Theo and whatever, I would say what contributed most to my lower sex drive all of my marriage until having Theo was being on a birth control pill.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize. So maybe birth control pills we can have that conversation another day, but.
We need to. We'll bring some truth on that too, because that's totally a huge topic.
And I didn't even know that was, I mean, maybe I'd heard that was a side effect. I don't even know, but I remember just being like, what is going on? Mm-hmm. So anyways, but I don't know if that was necessarily, so I think that was more my body still adjusting to, because I was on a birth control right up until I happened to get pregnant with Theo. So I think just eventually, coming off, having that out of my system and then to now, right? But yeah, I don't think that was pregnancy related. That was just myself. But
yeah. Well, I love that you're sharing like struggles. I feel like that's something that, I don't know, when you're in pregnancy, I feel like we don't share about, okay, like this is a raw and honest, this is how I'm feeling, because there's a lot of stigma around, oh, you're depressed, oh, you're this. And people throw labels on us as we're pregnant or postpartum. And I hate that stigma. It is wrong and it's very belittling to us as women, because this is actually, I mean, if you just take a step back, being able to grow a baby in your womb and then birth that child and then raise that baby, that is miracle after miracle after miracle. And we should be a culture that is proclaiming that over women and empowering women, in this phase. And so it's important for us to be able to talk about our struggles, but to do so freely, because then you're actually getting help. You're actually getting things out in the open without the fear of being labeled. So Alana, I want to share some of our struggles with you guys, especially around intimacy, because that is taboo in a lot of places. Yeah. So I think that's important. So like Alana said, she really struggled with her sex drive, especially with her thinking that it's totally has a connection with coming off of her birth control. For me, I had the 24/7, 9-month-long morning sickness.
Oh.
And so I was just very desperately ill for my entire pregnancy. And so I had no energy. I was, oh my gosh, like I was so sick. It was really, really challenging time of my life. I felt like my whole life had been put on hold and I just had to get through this for 9 months. And I didn't talk to a lot of people about how I really felt about it, because it totally was affecting Neil and I and our intimacy. Totally. And I was scared to talk about it because I was 20 when I was pregnant with Acadia. So, I'm still newly married. This is all a lot of new waters that we're treading. And Acadia was totally a surprise baby. Like we didn't expect to get pregnant. So it was just a lot of stuff. Yeah. And I was just like, I don't even know how to talk to people like about how I'm feeling, let alone how do you get through intimacy for these 9 months and continue to pursue this relationship with your husband when you're this sick. Yeah. And I remember sitting and actually looking things up on Google, because I was like, nobody talks about these things. And I was like, where do I turn to? Like, what else can I do? So that was really challenging for me. Looking back now, I would totally give myself a little pep talk and be like, you need to work on your mentality. That's a huge part of pregnancy that we often don't make the correlation with. Like pregnancy and birth is hugely a mental thing, about getting through the tough spots, because I think most of us would agree those are probably the most trying but incredible moments of our lives as women. And our mentality plays a huge part in it. So I definitely give myself a little pep talk, because I definitely wallowed in self-pity, because I didn't go out on a limb and start asking questions to people and looking for help when I should have, right? Yeah. I just felt like I was so scared to be labeled like, oh, you're depressed or you're whatever. Right. So that was definitely a big struggle. That was a big struggle for me during pregnancy.
I really like how you mentioned labels, because I hadn't really thought about that. But yeah, I feel like definitely if you're mentioning that you're having struggles, that people would maybe start drawing lines and connecting dots where maybe they don't exist.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really good point. And I think too, like I remember maybe not wanting to mention if it was tough going, if I was really tired or I was having a lot of morning sickness and whatever, because I also wanted to seem really I was grateful to be pregnant, but I wanted, I didn't want to seem ungrateful, You don't want to seem like, oh, well, this is such a big burden on me, this baby, because you're so thankful to be pregnant and you're excited, but it's like, but I don't want to just hide the fact that I also am having some struggles at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's a weird balancing act, or it felt like I had to try and balance somehow.
And I did too. I totally feel you on that. And it makes me sad looking back, because now I would go through things a lot differently. Or I would like to say that I would think I would go through things a lot differently, because I would just challenge, like the typical status quo on how our culture deals with pregnancy and pregnant women. And a lot of it, I believe, is truly twisted, and it's not empowering. It's actually quite degrading, because we're scared to talk about, like you're saying, like things get really hard. We're scared to talk about it because we're just going to be like, written off, or you're dealing with this, you need to get medication for that. Like, why do people view pregnancy as like this instant medical condition instead of you're a real human being going through just a lot of stuff? It's a huge juggling act.
Yeah. And there's hormones and things are changing.
And
your body's changing. Boobs are growing. It's like, what's going on with your body?
Yeah, seriously. So yeah, there's totally struggles. So Alana and I really wanted to talk openly, outside of our own personal struggles, some things that we each work through that did help with intimacy. So we want to cover positions and different things we can do intimately with our husbands. And we want to put some emphasis on you as a pregnant mama, to not just always be focused on baby or pleasing your husband. You should be delving in pleasure as well during pregnancy. The intimacy is about you and your man. And so taking a step back and caring for yourself and being intentional about filling yourself in these ways is super important. Like Alana, you mentioned earlier how much Jeff poured into you and how much he loved you as his pregnant wife. And he thought that was beautiful and amazing. And that was huge for you. And I will say the same thing for me. Neil loved that. He loved seeing me pregnant. And that was huge for me as well. So that was really awesome. And it's important that our husbands take that initiative to go the extra mile for us, especially when we're going through big struggles in pregnancy and intimacy comes up. So I want to make that point, because we often will just tend to put ourselves on the back burner and we'll be like, whatever, I'll do this for you and this for baby. And we forget to pour into ourselves, or to, willingly accept what our husbands are doing for us and saying for us and complimenting it and taking it seriously and believing them, and letting it affect us in a good way.
Yeah. No, that's so good. So to go into sharing favorite pregnancy positions, I know personally, I don't really remember being like, this isn't really as comfortable, or like maybe I guess once I was like super pregnant and then your belly's in the way and certain things just like, this isn't working like it used to. So anyways, the couple that I kind of thought of were just kind of, where your belly wouldn't be pressed up against your husband or whatever. So the first one that came to mind for me was like spooning sex.
Yeah.
So pretty self-explanatory. I'm sure you guys maybe have all heard of it. If not, I can post it on our hump day. Maybe that can be this week's hump day position. Or I can share all three of these so you guys can see the.
That's good. We should focus it all on pregnancy this week, which would be awesome. Spooning is such a good way, especially if you deal with a lot of discomfort, or, maybe you've had physical struggles during your pregnancy. So husband behind you and you're in the front, and it's gentle and it's tender, and it's typically the safest position if you've been going through a lot of hardships in your pregnancy. So that's a really good one.
So the second one would be, cowgirl or reverse cowgirl. So you're on top of your husband. I don't even know how you would describe this. Either facing him or facing away from him. Straddling
him. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know sometimes it can be easier being on top, especially I feel like when you're pregnant and things are maybe sensitive or, just feeling different down there than normal. It's nice to be on top because you can kind of control how like deep penetration is and also, kind of guide how things go in that sense. So I think that could be really helpful.
Yeah, that's a big one too. Because you'll see kind of a reoccurring theme in these positions that Alana put together is very much about being aware of your comfort as a pregnant mama, because that's really huge. So it's fun too. This is totally off topic, but this is a fun point of life. And I want to challenge us as women to think this way, that, we could take advantage of this time of being pregnant and kind of maybe switching things up in your sex life with your husband.
Yeah.
You taking charge a little bit more, maybe, whereas before you didn't, or, kind of switching things up. And I know personally, a lot of the girlfriends that I talk to, our husbands love it when we kind of take charge a little bit and we show them what we like, because we are all too often the ones to not do that, and we'll be quieter. And it's kind of just a reoccurring theme. I'm not saying everyone's the same, but I know within my circle of girlfriends, that was definitely a big topic that we've talked about and, we're growing out of and changing and developing.
Yeah.
And this is a really good time to kind of take advantage of that.
All right. So number 3 is, I called it tabletop. I wasn't really sure how to kind of name it to describe it properly, but I guess you could do it on a table or on your bed. But so basically lying down and like your butt's near the end of the bed or table. And then your husband is standing and supporting your legs while he's standing.
Yes.
At the end of the bed or table or couch or counter or.
Yeah. Because that's also another good one. That's good for also being able to gauge what is comfortable or not with penetration as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's kind of fun. Like, I don't know, because I guess even with cowgirl or same with this one, it's like your husband just gets the full view of you. I don't know.
That is huge for husbands, like the visual, right? Like that is totally a big gift for them.
Yeah, for sure. So it's like, I don't know if you're normally like me, where I like the lamp on. I don't like the full light on. Not because I want to hide what my body looks like or whatever. Not that I'm insecure about that, but just I like it's it's like a cozy mood. Like I like it kind of cozy and darker and but I understand how for Jeff it would probably be a gift, like you mentioned, if I kept the lights on and I let myself just be in full view. He would love that. So yeah, I like that you said that.
Yeah.
So we also wanted to address when you are so pregnant and so big, on bed rest, like I was for the last little bit of my pregnancy with Theo, or just so exhausted that maybe just normal rolling in the sheets isn't even an option for you, isn't something that's on your radar at all. Like there's other things going on. So we wanted to give you some options there as well.
Yeah. So I think we'll take it back to like just the simplicities of intimacy that we probably often overlook when, we're maybe in a busy season and we're going in pregnancy. Things do slow down for us, in the bedroom or even relationally a lot of times because we slow down. So we should take advantage of that. Start doing massages together again. Start doing, maybe you really love tickling each other. There's certain massages you each love, and you could totally delve into that again and make intimacy a beautiful experience, without the sexual part of it, in terms of like actually having penetration. So you can just get intimate together that way. Doesn't need to be sexual, just intimate. Do your massaging, do your tickling. And I think that's a really beautiful thing to incorporate. And then, like Alana said, if you're on bed rest or you're having complications with your pregnancy, or you're just very pregnant, you're very uncomfortable, or you're very exhausted, this is a beautiful way to continue pursuing intimacy without it requiring any kind of strenuous activity on your behalf.
Yeah. So whether that's, doing oral sex on you, your husband, manual hand stimulation,
Yes.
for you or your husband, like you mentioned earlier, Paris, remembering to that. Yeah. I feel like for me personally, it's like, if I think about, okay, I don't feel like it, or I am sick, or something's going on with me. Okay, Jeff, like, what can we do for you?
Yeah.
But to also think, okay, no, wait, like, what can we do for you? And then what can we do for me? Like, to also thinking it the other way around.
Absolutely.
So, pursuing pleasure for yourself as well.
Yes. Yeah. And it's huge because there's so many benefits, just, even without being pregnancy, that sex has between a husband and wife, but especially during pregnancy, because what orgasm can offer to your body and the release of oxytocin and all of these calming, bonding hormones is actually huge for dealing with everything from discomfort in pregnancy and just being in pain, because it covers some of that, even to, the opposite end of the scale. And it can actually stimulate labor,
Yeah.
So there's so many benefits to intimacy and pregnancy, and definitely pursuing, orgasm together, him for you, you for him, even if you're not able to have sex, just to be intimate together. And it's very important to prioritize that.
So if you're feeling sick, you're feeling, not quite yourself, you're having some troubles, I don't know, just feeling exhausted, you've got the morning sickness, the 24/7 sickness, and even like now, going out isn't quite as easy maybe as it used to be. So we wanted to share some nice, simple, easy, stay in date night ideas for you and your husband.
Yes. This is something also, looking back, that I did not prioritize, and I totally would if I had a rerun. Pursuing those date nights, I think, during pregnancy is just, the ones that we did have, they will be with me forever in memories, because I just felt so pursued and sexy, even though I didn't feel sexy normally because I was sick all the time. And, we'll be our own worst critics during pregnancy. Everything's changing. You feel differently. You look differently. Sometimes we're just struggling with all the excess weight, or we're struggling with skin issues, or we're just struggling with sickness. Like, whatever it is, we often just don't feel sexy pregnant, you know, like you hear that more often than women who are like, oh, I totally love pregnancy. I was so sexy pregnancy. So we want to encourage to bring this back. And this is a way that we're, Alana, are like, hey, doing date night in ideas, we could totally help to cultivate that mentality within, our podcast here, and hopefully to you guys with, hey, like, we could totally pursue this together.
Yeah. And to make it seem like it's not out of reach, because we know that, people are busy, and, going out for fancy meals all the time is expensive, or, doing these extravagant dates. So it's like, okay, well, let's make it simple and doable. So, So the first thing that came to mind for me, which I guess naturally, as a photographer, was to do a little home do-it-yourself photo session. So as a photographer, I hope that you have someone taking photos of you getting maternity photos done, or at least plan to have newborn photos. That's maybe, that's not the point of this, but side note, do it. But also just take some photos together. Grab your phone, phones, cameras are fantastic these days. Grab a camera. Doesn't have to be fancy, but just to document your bump before it's gone. So set up a self timer. And I know sometimes, like Paris mentioned, like, you don't feel sexy, but sometimes you do. Like, I remember sometimes feeling so sexy, like so pretty, and like something about the bump, just make you feel like, I was like, oh yeah, I am like a hot piece of meat right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just look so good. So there's times when that comes, and when it does, jump on it and get the self-timer, snuggle up with your husband, get a couple pictures. And I feel like that's a great way to build connection as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to segue on that too a little bit, Alana. We were gifted a maternity session by a friend when we were pregnant with Acadia. And that was a moment when I felt so beautiful. I was on Spotlight. Neil was all googly eyes all over me. And I had this stunning maternity dress that I invested in. That was so worth it. And I have those pictures on my wall and I love them. And, you know, it always brings back like the whole feeling of that experience. You know, my favorite one is I was standing in my dress and it was so, so pretty. And I went all out. I did my hair, my makeup. I just went all out. And Neil was kneeling and he was holding my belly and he was kissing my belly and he was looking up at me. And he was just like ecstatic in that moment. And now I have that picture forever. And that's just a beautiful memory for me, you know, of despite the hardship of my pregnancy, you know, this was a beautiful thing. And it was caught on camera, you know, and it just brought forth a whole new feelings of thankfulness, you know, and, you know, you talk about long suffering in the Bible, and that was long suffering for me, you know, in my pregnancy, but there's so many moments of beauty throughout it, and it's all worth it. And that's what that photo session did for me. Like, it changed things up for my mentality and my attitude and looking back. And so, you know, I'll go a step further and saying, if you don't, you know, you should do these DIY sessions together. I'm all for that, but go a step further and definitely, like Alana said, do your sessions together because they're so beautiful to have those memories. And that's a fun date. It totally is.
Yeah. And it's funny too. Like, you got maternity photos done by someone, but Jeff and I did this. Like, all of my maternity photos I have are ones that either I took myself or Jeff and I took together.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun. Like, now going forward, if I was to get maternity photos done again, I would get someone to do them for us because we have Theo, so it's different. But
yeah,
no, I love
it's different after you have several babies.
Yeah. So my second date night idea was to watch some pregnancy themed movies. We definitely did this when I was pregnant, and there's so many good ones out there. You can Google it. We can list them maybe in one of our stories this week. We can list some and save it in a highlight for you. But yeah, make it unique. You know, spiff up your living room, put some blankets on the floor, or just cozy up your couch, get some popcorn. Make it a little fun movie night.
Yes.
Maybe try the tabletop on your couch after.
There you go. Go all out. Make it an experience. That's what I was just going to say. Make it an experience. It's so fun to plan things and have it as a surprise. You know, either your husband doing this for you or vice versa. It just makes it such a fun date night. Okay. So number 3 is do an indoor picnic. Order in some of your favorite food. Go spicy if you're wanting baby to come soon. Whether that's a myth or not, it don't matter. Just go for it. If you know you get to the end of your pregnancy, you're desperate. What do you have to lose, ladies? You don't.
Exactly. Eat a spicy burrito. Just do it.
You could totally lay a blanket on the floor. You can get pillows. You can get candles, whatever. You know, Neil actually had a really good idea, and we did this one time. He's like, you know, we're going to have a date night, Paris, FYI. And he actually brought me out for a picnic, and he told me to write some really good conversation starters down. And we were going to go through this list. And he told me to do that. I was like, man, that's actually such a cool idea. So we did it.
Yeah.
And I highly suggest doing it because you have some time to put thought into conversation and curating it towards whatever. And it's really fun. And the other person has no idea. So that was really fun. And I mean, obviously you can do sit down and make it a fun event to pick baby names out. All those kinds of things, what you're going to maybe have as expectations or what changes you're anticipating after baby comes. You know, these are really beautiful conversations to have in an experiential manner. So yeah, that's a really good one. And then bonus too, like do board games, spend quality time just, together and playing, enjoying each other's company. There's so many good things that you could curate around a picnic in your house.
Yeah. And I feel like too, just thinking about it as, we've done our love languages episode 2, but thinking about it as a way to not only, obviously it's fun for you because you're having a picnic on the floor, but think about it as, okay, what is my husband's love language? If I, pick a board game that takes us hours, we're playing Risk. I hate Risk, but he loves Risk. And so, to think of something like that, to just show that you care and this is maybe not ideal for you, but you want to pursue this with him. So.
Yes, I love that. Love that. Number 4 is, ladies, spoil yourself. Go out and buy some beautiful lingerie that complements your beautiful blooming belly. Dress up in it. Surprise your hubby. I'm going to say this over and over again. I'm going to always say, make it experiential, because experiences is like huge for me. Because they're my memories that I carry with me forever, right? Like I love creating beautiful experiences. But the reason I say spoil yourself, and this is because so much emphasis, like Alana and I have said several times already, we put it on, the baby, we put it on our husband, and we don't stop and just give ourselves some me time and pour into refilling our cups and spending time with the Lord and specific prayer over ourselves and what we're struggling with, and, reflecting what we could do to help us get through whatever. And I think going out and, saving up some cash, whatever it is you need to go get some fun lingerie or a beautiful dress, it is a beautiful thing that you can do for yourself. And I promise your husband's going to love it as well. So do it. This is a good thing to make you feel good. I shouldn't speak for everyone in this, but I know for myself and some of my close girlfriends, our husbands love it when we go all out to dress ourselves up and to get all beautiful and spend time, refilling our cups and then presenting ourselves to them. And they are like, this is an amazing gift. And I think that's really special to do, as a pregnant mama in this, really in the grand scheme of things, it's a short term of time that we're actually pregnant. So it's fun to give him those memories of you like that.
Yeah. No, I like how you worded it like that, to give it make it an experience. And because it's such a short amount of time. So to be like, hey, this is me all spiffed up, my beautiful glowing body, take a picture, and then take off the lingerie. So
yes, could make it so much fun. Okay. And then last but not least is our 5th little date night in idea is go all out and have a big bubble bath date. I didn't have a huge tub when I was pregnant, so Neil and I totally couldn't fit in it together. Alana didn't even have a tub when she was pregnant, so I can't say that we got to go all out in this all the time. But the times where I was able to have a big bubble bath date with Neil when I was pregnant was just like a magical moment. So if you guys have a big tub or know someone that does, or, maybe you do want to go a little bit all out and go to a nice hotel that has a big, beautiful tub. That is just a really fun thing to do. And you guys, it just feels good. We know water feels good on our bodies when we're pregnant, and it does a lot of good. Throw your Epsom salts in there. It's so good for your joints, whatever you need to do. And just have your date night centered around that. Like this is pursuing intimacy together. As you're not feeling good, sex doesn't have to be involved at all, but this could be absolutely so romantic and intimate and so good, for these times where you're struggling or you're just going through a patch of your pregnancy where you can't be intimate. This is a really good one to throw in your date night in arsenal.
Yeah. And even just, it's like, okay, well, why don't we combine a couple of these? So it's like you're in your bathtub with your husband. You've got your takeout food there with you. You've got a TV tray set up. You're watching your movie together, snuggling in the tub, right? Like,
absolutely.
I don't know. That sounds pretty dreamy. And I would do that right now. That sounds perfect.
I mean, it's totally doable, right? I love it. You just start thinking about things and hearing other people's ideas. And it's actually really fun to start implementing that in your marriage.
And I think too, like, I don't want to, gloss over the fact that, some of us already have babies, and maybe it's like, okay, well, this is my first pregnancy. How the heck am I supposed to eat food in a bathtub while watching a movie? It's like, okay, no, I get that. But, make it a little event. Have your kids go to grandma's house, or, even get a sitter. If none of this like in-home stuff is possible for you, get someone to watch your kids, even just going for a walk and sitting on a bench and having the conversations.
Yeah.
But just making a point to prioritize intimacy with your husband, not only sexually, but just reconnecting, chatting, and just, reconnecting.
Hey friends, thank you so much for hanging out with us as we dive deeper into meaningful, godly intimacy, tackle the hard questions, and embrace truth while we're at it. We're also on Instagram at Kingdom Sexuality. You'll find our Instagram handle below in the show notes, where you'll also see any other resource links we may have mentioned in today's episode. As always, our hearts are to cultivate deep community and freedom with you guys, and we cannot wait to continue this journey alongside you. We'll see you in the next episode.